Mycroft here, and in this short video what I want to do is talk about how long your content should be. So whether that's the length of a video that you upload to YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, or the length of a blog post or an article in terms of words, how much should you be creating? How long should any particular piece of content be? How in depth should you go? This is a question that stumps a lot of business owners and people trying to do marketing online. And there's lots of different sort of takes and opinions, but I'll share mine. And basically that is that the correct length of any piece of content is however much, whether that's words or time, is required to communicate the point, to get the message across. Nothing more, nothing less is really needed, to be brutally honest. So what that might mean is that you may create a video that answers the question or solves the problem in 2 minutes, or maybe it takes 20 minutes, or maybe it takes 2 hours, but trying to hit an arbitrary target of length in terms of number of words or in terms of time, that's not a good practice. But equally, trying, I think, to artificially compress things under a certain time frame is also not particularly good. You'll see people say, hey, if you can't get your message into, say, a video that's less than 2 minutes in length, it's not worth sharing. I don't necessarily agree with that. I see where the logic comes from, because most people have pretty short attention spans, especially on platforms like LinkedIn, for example, where you've got busy people who are scrolling through and you've not got much of an opportunity to capture their attention and really captivate them and draw them into your message. So a great big long 20-minute video is probably not going to perform very well, but someone might give you 45 seconds, a minute, up to 2 minutes of their time to get your message across. So really the long story short of it, pun kind of intended, I guess, is to think about how much do I need, how many words, how much time do I need to really communicate my message. And that's what you should focus on. So make sure you actually add some value. Where I'll give an example is you've probably all come across an article like this online, or a blog post where you go and you read something and it's 700, 800, 1,000 words, maybe even longer, and there's only 1 or 2 useful sentences in the whole thing. I'll give you an example of a particular sort of niche or space where this tends to play out, and that's recipes. So if I jump online and search for recipes for just about anything, what you'll often find is there's a literal War and Peace kind of length story at the start about how the author grew up eating this particular recipe at grandma's house or whatever. Then you've got tiny little bit in the middle that's actually the proper instructions, the recipe itself, what ingredients you need and the directions for making it. And then you've got some outro that's bigger than Ben-Hur, and the actual meat of the sandwich is tiny, really. And same goes with YouTube. How frustrating is it when you jump on YouTube and you see some video that could probably be 2 or 3 minutes long, 5 minutes long, but it's 25 minutes long because the person creating it, the recorder, the uploader, has decided that they want to explain their whole life story, or talk about what they ate for breakfast in the morning before getting to the point. Now, to sort of jump on this before someone else does and leaves a comment saying, oh, you've got it all wrong because there's valid reasons to make longer content, I do agree that from the perspective of both trying to improve your viewer retention on YouTube, if that's where you're focused, and also in terms of SEO, Google seems to prefer longer articles as well as a rule. There are reasons why people will create blog posts or articles that are longer than they need to be, or record YouTube videos and upload them longer than they need to be, and that's because basically the algorithms at play seem to reward longer content. For example, on YouTube, the longer you're able to retain a viewer's interest, the better that video tends to perform. And so there's almost like this perverse, undesirable incentive in some respects to create content that's longer and more padded out than it needs to be. Same with Google. Everyone got into this mindset of, hey, if a 500-word article on a particular topic does this well, then if I create 2,000 words, it's got to do a whole lot better because Google's going to think I'm creating more content. And, the sad fact is there may be some truth to that. I'm not going to get too drawn into that aspect of things today. I'll discuss this in some future content, some future videos. But, I can see why people do create content that's longer than it needs to be. In fact, I'm probably creating content longer than it needs to be right now, simply because I want to have a decent shot at getting this ranking on YouTube for something. But from a purely, answering the question perspective, I think your content should be as long as it needs to be to answer the question or solve the problem, and that's really where you need to focus. Read through it or watch it play it back, ask a friend, ask a family member, ask a colleague, does this communicate the message that needs to be communicated? Does it do what it says on the tin? Does it answer the question? Does it solve the problem? If it does that, then chances are the length is fine. Whether that's short, whether that's long, whether that's something in between, the main thing is that you communicate the message accurately, you communicate it in a format that's easily digestible by your audience. And as long as you do that, I think everything else kind of falls into place. And what you're doing outside of that is more sort of tweaking around the edges to, maybe affect algorithmic performance on something like YouTube or Google, but certainly you're not necessarily making the experience any better for the end user. So yeah, I hope you find that helpful. Apologies for a video that's probably slightly longer than it needed to be actually, but hopefully it kind of proves the point of what I'm trying to discuss here. If you've got any questions, please feel free to leave a comment. You can message me on LinkedIn. You can email me anytime at info@samfrost.co.nz. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.